let's come back. I want to talk more about the model in Proverbs 31. So you tell me what you think about this. So there seems to be both in Proverbs 31 as you laid out. There seems to be a ability to go out by a field, right? But then there also seems to be a priority of the home, right?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that what we're reading in Proverbs 31 is probably a woman whose kids are a little bit older, is probably a woman who has been married for a bit, right?
I would think for her to be able to do everything that she's doing, that would be the season of her life.
That would be the season, right? And so
absolutely.
I think sometimes what people do with Proverbs 31 is they take that and they apply that to younger women who don't have the years of marriage, the wisdom, right? The life
I would have been
experience.
making all of your financial mistakes if I had been going out and buying fields when I was breastfeeding. I'm pretty sure I would have had baby brain.
Yeah.
No, 100%. 100. And again, it's going back to seasonal and everything. I mean, life is a time test.
Yes.
You only have your kids for 20 years. Now, of course, we're Italian, so we have them longer. But I mean, you're supposed to, you pretty much you're setting them up to go from one family to another family. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to let somebody else train them all those times? I remember ministering somewhere, and I know someone was being precious, and they came. It was a women's meeting. They came up to me afterwards, and they said, "The hand of God is on you to preach." And God said, if you need to go and travel, even He'll send angels. And I'm like, well, if an angel shows up, I will take care of that. But I said, right now, I am the provision for my children. He gave them to me. And I breastfed all my boys till they asked me to stop. They were like, it's been 2.5 years. We're not doing this for you anymore. The other kids in the nursery are laughing at us. I mean, I loved being a mother. I was fully immersed because what happens is there is strength in every season. And if you rush through that season, you miss the strength you need for the next season. And, I'm so thankful. All of my daughter-in-laws, they have the ability to stay home. But we also told them, don't buy a house that requires both of you to have to work full time. If your wife wants to work, if she has a creative outlet, like one of my daughter-in-laws, my youngest son's wife is my producer, and we work together, and we have a great working. But if she looks at me and says, my son is sick, or I just don't want, that's the highest priority.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. It's about two things you said: season, priority. Right. What is the priority in the season that you're in? And I think I think the pressures, it seems like, for women is that they're told they can have everything at the same time.
You can't. No one can. No one can. I mean, seriously. Like, I even remember thinking, if I do not get the strength of this season, because the season us, whether we realize it or not, that season, and it's like a blur when their kids are young, and you will miss so much. My oldest son, I remember when I had my second son, he came to my room one night. He said, I had a nightmare. I had a nightmare you put Austin into daycare. And I looked I looked at him and I said, do you know why you had that nightmare? And he said, no. I said, because I used to put you into daycare. And he just said, you did? I said, I did. And, we just talked it through. He didn't remember, but he did. And so I believe boys have to be outside in the dirt playing. I believe husbandry is actually like that. That's how you create a vine. So if we don't let men go out and do things physically, they do not bring to their marriage the physical things they need to bring. Because the woman guards the heart and the man guards the woman. He guards the home. He creates, or he provides. Like John, I always tell him, you give me the house, I give you the home. You give,
good.
And again, I make money too. But see, it's not my money and his money, it's ours.
That's good.
And it's always been ours.
There's so many gems in there. I mean, you talk about, obviously, the money aspect. You talked earlier about living below your means. You talked about...
we had one car until we had our fourth son.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we wouldn't fit. We had a Honda Civic. And I said,
you had to get another car.
I said, go get another car. He got it while I was in the hospital. I had just given birth.
That's so good. There's so much wisdom in that. But I think about like the practical side of this need for people to say, like, you have to have two incomes now. You have to have two. You don't understand inflation. You don't understand this, the cost of living. And I've dug away at some of the studies, and they found out that some families with dual incomes actually take home less when you factor in
eating out, wardrobe, daycare.
But daycare is a big one.
It's huge.
People spend $25,000 to $40,000 a year on daycare
at least.
Yeah, and so when you're looking at I think the average dual income family, I want to say, takes home around 58,000. The average single income family takes home around 50,000. So like, is that 8,000, 10,000 worth it when you
with
factor
all the
in,
stress,
with all the stress, and you're sending your babies
to strangers,
and
they're sick all the time
for the majority of their waking hours.
100%.
And so again, this is not obviously you went through a season of it. So this is not, I'm not saying this is a way to like shame people, but I'm saying this, and you kind of,
but you can course correct. Like John and I had to say, we're going to cut. We had to go from 54,000 to 27.
That's a big cut.
It was a huge cut. And then you know what we did? Went from 27 to 0 because John said, I'm quitting my job. God told me to quit my job. I'm going to live by faith. I was like, well, if this doesn't work out in a week, you're going to be sacking groceries because I am staying home with my children.
Yeah.
You know, and we believed God for every single penny that came into our house when we were making 27. And then we believed God for every single penny that came into our house. But it's like what you said, when you bring it down low, then all you're doing is building. And John has like this gift where the majority of the money that we have in our life right now, and I would say the wealth, John has like a real estate gift. He'll just be like, I see that piece of dirt, I need to buy it. He'll buy it and he'll flip it. And you know, like I remember it just, so like God says little can be much.
That's good.
Like God will show you things. And going back to me, so I'm staying home, I'm my husband's traveling, I'm staying home with my kids. And then I get a check one day that's an advance for a book. And when I held it in my hands, I heard God say, this is your reward for all the years you stayed home and you served in secret. You could never have saved this much money. And it has all just now come to you as one big check.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I started crying. And the truth is, that was the season. And people think I left my kids. I was always the one that took my kids to church. John was gone. I'd go out on Friday, come home on Saturday. The boys slept in my room Saturday night. They woke up Sunday morning. I was in my bed, and we all went to church. I loved being a mom. And I am not, you know, if there's anything I regret, I'll say I wish I would have played with my boys more. I wish I would have gotten down on the floor and played instead of just be cleaning everything. I wish I would have enjoyed them rather than survived them. And so many young moms, I'm like, just forget about tri-folding the underwear. Forget about doing that. Enjoy your husband. Enjoy your children. Everybody will tell you it goes by fast. You have no idea. I mean, I looked at one of my sons and I'm like, you're obviously potty trained. You're married. I do not remember. And it's like a blessed blur. And he's like, oh yeah, Addison potty trained me. I was like, oh, okay, great. That was good. You had older brothers. But it goes by fast. And when I was looking at this whole idea of the fight for female, I realized that the enemy is after the family. So I was speaking at a church in San Antonio, and the matriarch of the church came up to me and she said, Lisa, have you ever heard of Derek Prince? And I said, I've heard of him. I've never met him. And she said, we hosted him. And afterwards, we drove back to the hotel and we turned around. He was weeping in the back seat. And we said, you know, Brother Prince, what's the matter? He said, I see an attack coming against the women. And if the enemy can get the women, he will get the children. And I am watching how women are in agreement with the transitioning of their children. They have empathy towards this. It's like the enemy is like, I've emasculated with the men. And now I'm going to confuse the women. And he's gotten the women who should be protecting the children and the men who should be protecting the women and the children somehow to just partner with an unmaking of the image of God and the sanctity of life. And these are two things the church cannot be quiet about. We can argue about all sorts of other things, but when it comes to the sacredness of the unborn life and even elderly, and also we need to understand that male and female capture the image of God. And when you attack the image of God, because think about it, he's attacking an entire generation's formation, hoping that they will never trust God with their transformation.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.